Well, it's probably just it wouldn't have had a foot switch on the. I guess not. It's too old.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to rotate it around. The one clue that I do have is there's a little gap. But
That's not a clue. That's evidence.
yeah, evidence. Okay. Evidence means you're going somewhere. Clue means maybe that means something. Anyway, that's all I got. I think somewhere in there. Oh, I'll show you the other clue. Not to dominate your world, but hang on.
My world is just having lunch.
Yeah, I can tell. Well, here's the other clue, and I don't know if I've got enough range for this, but yes, I do. Here, on the base, where it turns into a shaft here, or as we would say, where leg turns into ass, there's this odd little label. You like that, do you? Very evocative.
Yeah, we're just practicing our language here. It's
language or anguish.
Language and anguish.
I'm on fire today. Now it says to operate light, turn right with a big long arrow. But
before you go out the door,
there's nothing to turn. There's now the skint. There's blank. Yeah, to operate light, turn right.
So try turning right and it'll come on.
That's right. To operate heavy, etc., etc. So I don't know what to do. I'm going to do some continuity checks. When in doubt, do continuity checks. They always take time and they ostensibly show you something. There. That's where I'm at.
Well, you know what the turn right was? It was a switch.
Yeah. So, to do that, I lose my...
Maybe they took the switch out and then they just put a couple of wires in there. And when you twisted it, it came on.
God help us. I hope not. There's
twisty switch.
The intermediate rod turns.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Forever.
That's the turn right. There's a switch in there.
God, I hope not. I sincerely hope not. I am going to do a continuity check or two. It's got a modern wire in it. Somebody has actually replaced the wire. It's got one of these ridiculous, these old-fashioned. I'm trying to
make a
backwards and upside down. It's very difficult. Anyways,
yeah, that's an original.
Yes, it is, but it's a modern wire. No, it's original terminals because they're the same size. So I'm going to just run a continuity check with the center pin. Curious, huh? There, that's how I start. That's the beginning of my broadcast day.
So good.
Yeah.
Do you have time to watch the other video?
Did I which?
Did you have time to watch the other video?
Oh, I had time, but I didn't.
Oh.
I've got lots of time. I just don't do things. Mariana's just sent me a bunch of math videos. Some more calculus. She's in a midterm study group this afternoon, which I think is much better than she and I getting mad at each other.
Oh, for sure.
So
no, they got to figure it out themselves. That's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Where is my multimeter? I have too many workbenches.
Okay, now I turn this with the
I never forget that guy who came in here who was This is a child learning expert came in here and said, "I wonder what a kid would think of this Aladdin's cave." And I said, "I hope I never find out."
Was it Aladdin himself?
Yeah, it was one of our customers, and he bullied his way in here to get something fixed. So we were sitting in the corner remarking on how this place looked like an Aladdin's cave. Well, yeah, but does Aladdin have torque wrenches?
No.
I don't know what Aladdin had.
No, I don't think many of us do. I think that just kind of makes the picture even harder.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's an insult to say Aladdin's cave or it's a benefit.
Well, it was an unwelcome comparison,
Oh, okay.
as far as I was concerned.
You didn't show him the headgear that you have.
No. Lordy, lordy, I gotta go. I'll come back. I think I have to go check the two other workbenches.
Sure, no problem. No.
I can't remember the show he was on. He was very popular in the late 70s, early 80s. Bald, and he used to go, "I pity the fool."
Oh,
Well, you'll probably have to edit this out, but I pity the fool that buys this house. I think of all the little fixes I've done all over it, all the little customizations that make it work better that are not obvious. It's like I live in a repair cafe world.
well, when it extends beyond the repair cafe, then when it gets even more exciting, right?
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
When you start fixing the lamp on the street.
Oh God, we've done it. We've all done it.
Yeah, well, it's like, well, everybody's fussing about the repair guy not showing up. I'll just go and do it, right?
You did I tell you the story about us replacing one of the headlights, the bulb?
Yeah, you said you couldn't get in from the front or something, so
Yeah, I had to go
that's
through the
usual.
wheel well.
That's
That was-
usual.
Yeah, that was just crazy talk. I mean, good Lord.
It's a snap fit lamp that never should be touched again, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Well, we got what, 8 years out of the first one. I don't expect to be in there again. There are 3 more bulbs, mine.
Well, usually the factory set things are better quality.
Yeah, that's that.
It's like those miracle batteries you get in devices that never seem to fail, right?
Well, that puzzles me. It's funny that you mention that because we haven't put a new battery in that car, and I have a vision that it's just going to suddenly fail. It'll drop below a threshold and stop working. And I'm not keen on that.
Yeah, I think it's as soon as you check it, it fails.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, as soon as you put meter on it, yeah, the thing will croak. Yeah.
It's just that now that you've thought of it.
Yeah. Well, don't tell it. You can't hear from here. I've got the door shut. Crikey.
So I got this printer from Mark, who prints music for his music fans.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, this thing is not working. But you know,
not working.
well, are you good with sound effects? I know you are.
It is a Canon Pixma?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a squirt jet.
Squirt jet.
Yeah.
So it you know, it does all kinds of nice noises. Like this. Sorry, I'm laughing. It's definitely a gear mesh problem.
Oh dear.
So that's what it is.
Oh my God.
It's like an orchestra. It just, there we go.
Look at my lamp. You see me lamp?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
you're
working.
done. Okay.
You know what?
I do know what he came last week.
3 levels.
Oh,
It works perfectly. You know what it is?
the switch.
The hand switch. It works. She doesn't know how to operate it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of weird because it's not a conventional idea.
No, it's not. It's not even in the same county as conventional. But look, 3 levels. 1,
Yeah,
2, 3,
yeah,
4, off. It works.
yeah. It's just somebody invented that thing and it wasn't that popular.
Oh, for sure. No, it's an ecological dead end. It's absolutely an ecological dead end, and the bulb is just stinking hot now because it's
That's a
4,000.
150. Of course, it's going to be hot.
You know what? The bulb is 100, 200, and 300 watts.
Oh, holy schmoly! That's like lighting up the whole building.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It freaking works. And it's only got 2 contacts. So what this thing does is it's a switch with 3 resistors. Or 2 resistors. One is full through, and the other cut it from 300 to 200, and the other one from 200 to 100. There are 2 resistors and a 3-way, 4-way switch in here. Full in, 3/4 in, and sorry, full in, 2/3 and 1/3, and it works. That's amazing.
Just don't open it up.
You know what? I'm not going to go another inch with it.
No.
And it's got a marble base,
Right.
a ring down here, and my late brother-in-law, his dad, I may have told you this story too, because I tend to tell the same stories. My late brother-in-law grew up in a small town in Quebec called Granby, where there's a famous zoo full of monkeys. And when you go on the tour in the Granby Zoo, the guy does a bilingual tour. He says, "Et maintenant, mesdames et messieurs, and now, ladies and gentlemen, à votre gauche, on your left, des singes, the monkeys. Encore à votre droite, again on your right, beaucoup de singes, many monkeys." He waits a couple of seconds and à votre gauche, encore des singes. Once again, the monkeys. And he just does that continuously because that's all they actually have in the Granby Zoo is monkeys. So anyway, Granby, you can use that, by the way. I don't know what
for. to express our frustration with lamps.
Yes. So anyway,
printers.
His dad was a bank manager, which is why Bill became an accountant, because bank managers and accountants are 2 sides of the same coin. So his dad was a bank manager in 1925. I think it was the Bank of Montreal. It could have been any of the major banks. It could have been the National Bank or the Bank of Nova Scotia, whatever. Anyway, a prominent businessman came in and said, "Listen, I really want to get into the stock market." This is a guy with a local store that had done quite a lot of good business over the 1920s because it was kind of roaring, as you know. Anyway, his dad, the bank manager, said to the businessman, "I don't think you should be in the stock market right now. And instead, I think you should take out a term deposit with the bank." And he said, "I think a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money." And one way and the other, he convinced the guy. And the guy said, "Okay, I'll do that." And in 1930, when everybody else had lost their shirts and he still had lots of money, he came back and thanked Bill's dad and gave him a lamp. The lamp is a French casting of a 98% nude lady with a pair of castanets and a tambourine. And she stands on a metal base like this. She's only about this tall. But in the base, there's a piece of alabaster like this one has down here, very 1920s. You can think of a house in Britain in 1913. This is what you got. Just endless layers of foliates and dark metal and gilt.
And they sold millions of them.
Yeah, and gilt with a G-U-I-L-T. Anyway, the lamp is probably worth $2,000 now, mostly for
Prestige.
Beautiful French casting of the 3/4 naked dancing lady. But
before
it's just,
before the mold wore out.
oh, just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the base under the alabaster, the base that stands up, this thing was designed. Do you know what a finial is?
Yes, of course.
Right, the bottom of a banister.
Because you put it on the roof.
Well, yeah, that's right. The finial. Thank you so much. Anyway, the piece at the bottom of the staircase, this thing mounted there. And at night, the thing you could set it so it only lit the base, the marble base, and it glowed. And then she danced on top of this glowing marble base, and it was just gorgeous.
Oh, something to fall asleep to for sure.
Oh, totally. So anyway, that was a Quebec version of the Repair Cafe to put that all back together and get it working. It took about 40 times as long as this little beastie has. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, well, I was interested in escutcheons. You know what an escutcheon is?
I know what an escutcheon is. I do.
Yeah, so I was manufacturing escutcheons.
As one does.
Yes. If you can't think of anything, make an escutcheon.
Absolutely. Keeps you out of the bar. Whereas, well, you know, as he does, he's deep in the manufacture of an escutcheon.
Especially if you can't escape. Just improve the door.
Just. All right, Governor. Get on with your story. We're losing the audience.
Story? Yeah, okay. Well, I did manufacture escutcheons, and I found there was an enormous market for them. But I got to the point where people were changing their entire room because of my escutcheon.
Oh, God.
So I had to stop.
The responsibility was
The
overwhelming.
responsibility of being a Dr. Doorknob and an escutcheon producer was becoming a little overbearing. My parents didn't understand, of course.
Oh, that's hilarious.
They didn't have any sympathy for my struggles.
No, of course not. No, of course not. You're bloody successful. Stop complaining.
Exactly.
We know
Exactly.
people with who don't have shoes. You've got a scutcheon. Sorry. I'll stop.
I did the same in art school. They asked me, Wayne, what do you see in your future of making things? And I said, well, little bits. I can make lots of little bits because people always want the little bits.
Yeah, the trim work.
Yeah, all the little decorations. It's
Oh.
endless.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it is an endless market, but I just, I felt a different calling.
A higher calling.
Yeah, and ever since I've had people hand me books of escutcheons and decorations and all those ensconces and all the
Crenellation.
all the decorations you put around the top of the room,
Yes. Oh, God.
Baroque, you name it.
Yep.
And here I am thinking, well, you could buy your own 3D printer and do that.
Yeah, you know what? No. There's a difference between wanting something and deciding to do it. I mentioned that one before too. You want an escutcheon versus I'm going to make one.
I love the process of decoration and I love the machinery that makes it. And to be a machinist and make machines to make other things, it was a very exciting process. And it's something that seems to have been in my family line a long time, to make little widgets. The widgets that people love.
Yes. Well, that's all right. It's a proud history. Listen, with a name like Mason, we do nothing but escutcheons, but we make them out of stone.
That's right. Yeah, the X marks on everything, and
Yeah.
and the beauty of taking something and that is conventionally disproportionate and putting it into proportion. I think that's how I see it.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Not the coconuts behind me, but probably the walnuts and the oak.
Oh, yes, the mighty oak.
Yes.
We were looking at, I was doing research today into Warren, Minnesota for something I'm doing for my website. Warren, Minnesota had reached a peak of population in about 1910 at 1,700 people. And today it's about 1,000, because like most rural towns on the prairies, the population is dropping as the efficiency in farming increases. So you need far less people than you ever did, and the services aren't really any more complex than they were back then. In fact, in many ways, they're simpler. Anyway, they did their own bricks, and there were many towns that made bricks because they had a beautiful river and really nice clay. So they were producing bricks like crazy. So I'm going to find it. Just bear with me a moment, because it's here in the room with me, like my imaginary friends. So stand by.
Yeah, I like bricks because the house doesn't burn down.
Yes.
We learned that lesson in England far too many times. We had a long history of things burning down.
Well, how often do people relearn the tragedy of thatched roofs?
Well, yeah, we use slate roofs, so that was a mandate. You couldn't build a house without a slate roof.
Yeah, well.
And I come over to America and everything's wrong.
That's why all the houses burned in California, because they bought these beautiful natural cedar shakes. What we call up here kindling.
Mm-hmm. Putting kindling on your roof. Yeah, sounds good.
That's wise.
I'm sure the insurance will be happy.
Yes, no complaint. Yeah, you carry on. I mean, like Dr. Zeus, I have a screen that is green.
Yeah. Going to switch cameras here and get back to where I was supposed to be going.
All right.
Don't
let me distract you.
Well, now I know. Now I know that there's no such thing as normal.
Normal is an aspiration, not an existence. So here's one plate. I love this.
Yeah.
This one's made in China, and he's playing table tennis. And it's actually a tin bowl,
right?
Tin copper or mild steel. It's got porcelain. You can see where it's been chipped.
Well, that's when you went camping, right?
Possibly. It's actually a Lucky Elephant brand.
Which means what?
Not sure.
That's the Lucky Elephant brand.
Yeah, you can actually see. Well, I have to put some light on it, but you could actually.
They're all about elephants.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah, Lucky Elephant brand.
So that was that India or no, China?
China.
So with the Indian, I guess it was universal.
Yeah.
Just pick your animal.
Well, I think that's quite elegant. I actually like it.
Yeah, it is fun.
And it's a decal in this case. However, this is the plate that I sought. This is why I'm looking up Warren, Minnesota. I've got to get this in War and Peace. And it says,
they're warring over the sugar?
Well, it says souvenir of Warren, Minnesota.
Right.
And this is actually hand painted. This actually is hand painted on this plate.
And what's the tree covering? A mistake?
I'm not sure, but it's.
Who puts a tree in front of a house like that?
Yeah. The sticker quite clearly states made in Japan.
Oh. There was a quick reinvention. Oh, this is Canadian. We're going to put a tree in there.
Well, somebody sent some photographs of Warren to Japan so that the painters could produce this.
Of course.
So what is going on with the factory? And
ain't no factory I know.
And why is there a cow coming out of the door?
You're onto something.
I am onto something. This is. I have a whole section on my website devoted to souvenirs, and this is one of the more inexplicable ones.
They were playing a game in Japan. It's like, okay, now you put something in.
Yeah, exactly. What's
Pass
that?
the
I'm
plate.
not sure, but let's paint one of those.
Pass
What's
the
that?
plate. Who's next?
Well, look at this amazing scene on the Snake
Yeah.
River. The Snake River looks about a mile wide. Well, the Snake River you can wade through at low tide.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And I'm not sure about the boat. The boat
But-
doesn't look like anything I've ever seen either.
No, it's a shoe.
Yeah, it's a shoe. Now, the grain elevators, I get it. But the factory evades me. Chimneys along every roof line. And the
That's-
perspective is,
No,
suspect.
the tree is hiding something. I bet you.
I think so too.
It's the if you look at the roof line, it changes between the trees. So
Right.
something else was going on there, and they put a tree over the top.
Well, for a prairie town of 1,200 people, somebody visited and said, I'm going to bring that plate home because I want to remember this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they do all kinds of weird things in Japan.
Anyway, I love it. I sincerely love this.
Yeah, it's a great story.
plate. It is. It's wonderful. And I've looked carefully at Warren this morning. I've been moving stuff over. There are 7 stacks on the roof, and they're all busily pumping steam or something out the top. There's a farm, there's a factory, there's grain elevators, and there's a man trying to escape on a boat or a shoe, as you say.
It's all fitting.
So that's one of my favorite souvenirs. As I say, souvenirs. I have another one. I think my favorite souvenir on the site is a dance card for a soiree at an institution. The institution is the Mimico Asylum for the Insane, and it is literally a dance card. So that's a Dear Diary moment. Yeah, so while I was there with the crazy people, see, and we were dancing. It's dated about 1890. Well, there you go. Now you can see the inside from the back.
It's got this unique kind of fold-out roller system, I guess, for unjamming the paper.
Is it still on?
I could turn it on.
That would be interesting.
I don't think we got much to lose because it's making such a horrible noise.
Well, exactly. I'd like to see it do stuff.
This is always challenging for my little table.
Yeah. Well, you and me both, right? It's like all the space I've got here. It's just ridiculous.
Well, as usual, trying to find a warm space at this time of year is challenging.
I had the same issue. I came out here 2 hours ago and turned all the heat on and blasted the place. I got it up to, we're about 58 Fahrenheit. So about 13 degrees. It's not bad. So there's a limit switch. Somewhere there's a limit switch that's keeping it from turning on because you got the door open and they're worried you're going to lose a finger inside. And it's probably going to be so fiendishly designed that you can't reach it to jimmy it. Which is a shame.
It's really not made to come apart.
Nope. They're not. They're absolutely not designed for fix-its. And for the only thing they're designed for, the only reason they open at all is so that you can take a jam out. That's the limit of their accessibility because they're so damn cheap. Oh, it's moving. It's moving. Is it making the grinding noise still?
It's making coffee.
Okay.
But that the gyrations of grinding is
Elsewhere?
really just calls for slippage, right?
Okay, those central wheels, the 2 central wheels on the white part in the back, were turning quite nicely.
Yeah, well, those little rubber things here, right?
Yes, that's right.
Those are doing fine.
Yeah.
But something that's driving those is saying it's not engaging, and hence it doesn't pull any paper in.
Right. When they let you monkey with it, close it and try it again. Just close this flap and try again.
Find a button here. Any buttons? Oh, didn't like that. I pressed some button. There we go. Does it have Siri? Hello, can you print, please? Oh,
Front row.
it says it doesn't like being tipped sideways. Okay. It says, please. Yeah. Great.
Oh, has it got a scanner too?
It does. The scanner works, and it's just the printer that's not doesn't want to do anything here. But
I can't hear the grinding sound.
I think we could make it into a movie.
Is there a test page you can print?
It doesn't draw any paper at all. It won't even say hello paper.
Do you have to feed the sheets in one at a time?
Well, I just got one piece of paper. That's all.
Oh, you don't have a reservoir for paper back there? You throw a wad in?
Well, it says this is the paper load tray here, I think, right?
Yeah, but there's got to be a drawer somewhere.
Well, it'll do a test page if I force
Hold
it.
that. Just hold that and see what happens.
It says press OK, but I don't even see an OK on this thing. Oh, there we go. Start. Scanning. Now it's scanning. We don't scan. It shouldn't matter. It's still.
That didn't sound great.
I think it's like the one we had before was, you know, when you muscle these things around.
Yeah.
And it pushes all the rollers in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Just because the stability of the frame is so weak.
Yeah.
We had this issue with someone with a printer in their car, right?
Yep.
And they came over and they said, for some reason our printer's not working, and we put it on the table and the whole thing was like shifting because all the screws that came loose because they used it in the car.
One thing that happens with these is when they manufacture them, often they have a subassembly that snaps into place.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of undoing screws. It's just a question of trying to undo the snaps, and it's impossible. Because once you do that, all of the gear wheels fall out.
And that's what I'm
actually held.
That's what I'm thinking. Once I start opening it, there's a point of no return, right?
That's right. You're just going to have handfuls of springs and grommets and
yeah,
miscellaneous rubber pieces and just.
I know. And I got boxes of these parts already, so it's not like I need more.
No. No, I accept that.
And it's what can I do?
I know. It's so frustrating.
But I can take the camera off, and you can.
I can't touch it
With your virtual fingers. There we go.
Upside down.
Oh yeah, upside down. Oh, yeah, you're right. There it is.
Yeah, there we are.
Okay, so you can go right in there if you like. I'll take you on a journey. I don't have one of those remote cameras. It'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
An endoscope. Yeah, you need an endoscope. I've got one, but it's got an enormous lag to it. I bought it off of Banggood, and it was.
Oh, is that the one you said you weren't very impressed with?
Yeah, it takes like 2-3 seconds for the image to update.
Right.
Basically, worthless. What I need is a camera phone on a straw.
Oh, I know, and the camera phones are really good quality.
Yeah, you need that on a straw or at the tip of a chopstick or something.
Yeah.
With its own light, with some LEDs. That's the one thing this had. It had 6 LEDs around the lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't really see anything of interest going on in there. I can see down there, but so what, right?
You can see just the pinch roller, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And the pinch roller should be grabbing it and feeding it. if I had to say there was a micro switch to detect the paper, it would be somewhere underneath that first white roller that I can see past the
Yeah,
the
you can.
white.
I think you can see the little footprint of the micro switch there.
Yeah.
Load
Okay.
paper, press OK. So there is a OK button here.
Please wait a while. Open the paper output tray. There's a paper output tray somewhere. That's the one above it. Start 01, black copying. Scan next page, start 01. It's stuck in a scanning mode.
Yeah, so you see the paper moved a little bit, but it's just saying, yeah, well, I can't do anything. And I can feel the roller
Yeah.
doing something here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is working. It's just the engagement process is totally worn out.
Yeah. I agree. I think something's broken.
Yeah, so a little. We're going to probably find a little gear with just nubbins and not teeth.
Yeah, or a little plastic arm that's supposed to keep like the guide plate
Yeah,
paper.
yeah. So anyway, that's I mean, what are these things like $80 or something? It's like
Oh yeah, or less.
yeah.
They're sold at below cost in the hopes that you're going to buy ridiculous amounts of
but it is,
magenta and cyan.
yeah, it is. Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it wants to advance it, but you're right. There's a gear strip.
You are my witness.
I am your witness. I am totally your witness. I concur with your judgment, doctor. I think the patient is beyond redemption. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
How mystical.
Well, I got a notebook. I'll shove that in there. And then watch it snatch my whole sketchbook in
Totally, and start printing on it.
and not be able to handle it.
Well, it's got to go around 180 degrees because it's going to come right back out at you.
Yeah. So, got that in there. I'm going to close up these adjustments for the perfect size.
Yep.
Put the.
We'll never see that writing again.
I'm okay with that. It wasn't that special.
All right.
So it says load paper now. Press OK. Open the tray output. And go. And now wait a minute. It says, okay, let's wait a minute. And if it snatches the paper, we're in luck. No. Doing its own little tap dance now. Please wait a while, it says.
Okay, open the paper output tray. Do that.
This machine has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
No, just keep saying load paper.
Yeah. Yeah, not going to go. I agree. It's WPL, worn past limits.
Yeah. Okay, well, return to sender.
Yep. I don't have any magic suggestions.
No. I know Gibson's Recycle has lots of solutions.
Oh, geez, these things are just artificial reef time. It's just so many of them. Down the right-hand side or the left-hand side, there's a gear train. And somewhere in one of those gear trains, left or right, there's a strip part that just spins idly. And so it never achieves the next step in the process. These are state machines. When you ask it to do X, it has 7 or 8 states it moves from state 1 to state 2, and then it checks a bunch of conditions. And if they're all met, goes to state 3, et cetera, et cetera. That's exactly how they operate their state machines. And they're good as long as they last. But if a micro switch fails, they'll never move past state 3, for example, ever. So they'll never get into the interesting stuff. You're caught in state 2 of 8 or 11 or something.
Because the paper won't feed, yeah, they won't
Yeah.
go any further. So there's
That's
no
right.
way.
That's right. And it's expecting the paper to reach some other point where it knows that it's reached that point.
Yeah.
There's just sensors all over these things.
And probably just one paper clip will do it, damage it enough to not, continue.
Well, exactly. Now you've got a feed mechanism on top of the scanner, and the feed mechanism will just founder and die on things like paper clips. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Yeah. But their entire interest is just like McDonald's is not a food company, they're a real estate company. These guys are not they're not a printer company, they're an ink company.
Yeah. I guess there's that substantial difference.
Yep. They exist to sell you ink.
Yeah, I've noticed there's a conundrum, isn't there, with the price of ink and the price of a new machine?
Oh, totally. The price of the machine barely covers the machine. And they give half of that away to the retailer just to get you on their treadmill.
Yeah. And then the software involved is enough to fly to the moon and back.
Oh, for sure. They're good at that. Up until recently, Canon in particular had a very interesting subdivision that was designing and issuing for free paper models of all sorts of stuff, including architecture and spacecraft.
Right.
And the whole purpose of it was to get you to drive more heavy duty paper through their printers and to print this stuff out. But they've got hundreds of paper models on their website, like high caliber color.
Right.
So there's that.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can't get them to print enough pictures. We have to boost demand. Oh, look, a 3D model of the Eiffel Tower, accurate to the last rivet.
Yeah, well, I guess what's the average number of printers per person?
In my case, one.
Okay.
I've had the same laser printer since 2009, and I can still get cartridge for it. And the cartridge I can get from brother at London Drug Costco for 18, free shipping.
Right. Well, my inking kit has lasted for 9 years.
Yeah.
So I'm still inking 3 printers.
Wow.
Each newer version. I think the last printer I got is now 5 years old. Printing CDs and everything, right? Does everything.
Yeah.
And then the trick is to load a new cartridge and have it recognize it as a refill.
Right.
Because it has that sensor, right?
Yeah, you have to convince it that it's actually received something useful.
Yeah. So those things are all available online to how to trick your printer to believe it's got new ink.
And that's all copy protection. It's amazing. My coworkers now have a lot of Caterpillar equipment. The excavators and the loaders are all Caterpillar. Cat keeps a truck on site, like literally a repair truck on site. And when you buy a truck, you don't actually buy the truck, you lease the truck, and you're not allowed to touch the software. The only people who are allowed to touch the software are authorized Caterpillar people.
Oh, that's the same as John Deere, isn't it?
It is exactly right. This is the way things are done now. So you're buying a service, and it's going to become that way online. I really like your idea about Mint. I think that's the way out of the box. We have 2 machines. One's a primary and one's a secondary. And if I make changes on the primary, they get propagated to the secondary. And ostensibly, when the primary dies, the secondary takes over. Well, we had a problem for 3 months. The secondary wouldn't take over. And eventually they had to come online and do a whole bunch of magic themselves. And after, I don't know, 60 hours of working on it, we reported an error message on the screen, and the guy just he lapsed into silence. And he said, wait a minute, I'm going to have to talk to my engineers. So I'll get back to you. He got back to us sheepishly after dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of trying to diagnose this. They had shipped us the wrong license. They'd shipped us a license for a piece of software that was more recent. And no wonder the thing wouldn't croak, but there was no other. And the message was something ridiculous. It was like the sheep have gone into the barn. It was just ludicrous. It related to nothing, but it was entirely political. It was all copy protection so that you couldn't copy the software onto a third party machine and have it work. I mean, that has nothing to do with productivity. It's just, if anything, it's a drain on the system. And mark my words, if Bitcoin takes off, we ain't seen nothing yet. It's going to get horrendous. So there, I've said my piece.
Well, I'm okay with the wooden handle to wind these things. I don't mind.
No, I'm with you, and I'm okay with this multi-level resistor inside whatever is in this intervening box below the thing. By the way, it's got this lovely piece of aluminum, 1920s or 1930s aluminum, which is now wedged in firmly here. That with this trumpet, which actually lines
Right.
the thing so that you can't touch anything dangerous.
Yeah, it's a heat shield too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Stop everything cooking underneath it.
That's right. Well, with 300 watts up here, 310.
I know, that's intense. It's like, yeah, you don't put any curtains near that one.
No. I don't even know what you're going to put on top of it for a shade, but
A chicken.
yeah, that's right. A rotisserie.
You're gonna hatch eggs with it.
Yep, that's true. I'll let her know the good news anyway. It's working. Well, Ariana's come through here and she's high graded through all the records. She's got 30 decent records, and I set her up with a stereo system, which she's thrilled with because she does like the medium of vinyl.
Oh, it's very romantic.
So that's good because I got another 1,000 albums here for her, and she wants them.
Yeah, that's still something to be said for our vinyl rapport.
No, that's true. That's true.
And I think a lot of people don't understand the novelty of even listening to an album.
And having to turn it over.
Flip it over. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Say what? Do what?
There's more on the other side.
What do you mean the other side? The other side of what?
That's Plan B. Didn't know there was Plan B. That's all the stuff you missed.
Yeah.
That's all the ideas that didn't work out.
Yeah. Why is it round? Well, if it's triangular, wouldn't work, would it?
It might now. We could do digital triangles. That would be fun.
Yeah. 3-bit reality.
That reminds me of the 3D printers. Like, I was thinking the other day, if I was with a hot glue gun, I wouldn't use just one glue gun. I'd use several.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking? One glue gun for a whole series of things? No wonder it takes 24 hours to print a pair of shoes.
Well, and it's just the resolution. I mean, they're getting so much higher quality resolution, but there's so many more dots to worry about. You know, if you increase the fineness of the detail at your peril. 24 hours to make a small table.
Well, and then the joke is how good is your nozzle?
Yeah.
How good is your feed? How good is your line of plastic feed? Is it pure, or is it going to have bubbles in it? It just goes on and on, right?
Yeah. Is it too warm? Is it too cold? I want to change colors. I want to change consistencies. What can I do with it afterwards? Can I tap and drill into it to put screws in it? Well, no.
Yeah. So it was also the aspect of everybody rushing in and saying they wanted recycled plastic to be provided because they want to do recycled 3D printing.
Yeah.
The only recyclable plastic was Lego. And it's just like, I'm not going to give up my Lego. I like it.
Well, look at the phenomenal accuracy of a Lego piece.
I know.
It's 10,000th of an inch.
There's only one reason why it still works. It's because it was well made.
Yeah. You never get rid of it. You can't build an artificial reef out of a reef. It's like
No.
it's like Minecraft, the analog version of Minecraft.
Which reminds me, I think we should play Minecraft at some point here.
Yeah. Well, I'm seriously thinking of buying a license for the PC because the Xbox is on its last legs. I mean, I could go put another hard drive in there, but I would rather put one on the PC and start again on a world that I can share.
Oh, well, I got a laptop here you can have.
Oh, I've got machines. So it's not the issue. It's just I have to commission time. I have to devote time to doing it because once I get into Minecraft, I'm going to be seriously into it.
Well, depends what the proposal is. I mean, they're all playing Bed Wars right now. It's kind of fun.
What's that?
It's a team collaborative thing where you're dumped in a world with a team of 3 or 4. Whether you know them or not is up to your social skills, but basically you join a team and you look after your bed while everybody tries to destroy your world.
You look after your bed.
And there's a time limit. Yeah, you have a bed on this little sky pad, and everybody builds bridges to get across to both destroy you and to get resources.
Oh, jeez.
But everybody knows it's fun, and you get endless chances, right? So every time you fall off your pedestal, you get back on.
Oh yeah.
So every time somebody clubs you over the head, you come straight back. It's not ended.
It's not over is over.
Not over until you lose your bed.
Do you have any creativity? Do you have to? Can you build stuff? Can you?
The strategy is the creative part. So how do you strategically keep things in place? But there's other sides to it which I find a lot of fun. So they do online flossing to your enemies. You do flossing.
Okay.
which is basically the dance move.
Oh, all right.
So you do this little dance move, and you kind of like, yeah, you're not going to get me because I'm doing this dance move. And then you club them over the head. It's just funny. It's a pretty low stress game.
That's good.
But a lot of kids take it very seriously because it's a serious element of fun.
Well, sure. Fun has serious. You can't just be goofy about it. You got to take something for real.
But it has a time limit, and it's short, and I think it's over in about half an hour.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, so it's quick, but it's just, it's a big thing now. And I'm so glad that Minecraft came back into the realm of being a popular game. But it is popular in terms of creativity too. It's just that they've taken it to whole new levels of creativity.
I know. I was watching one time a guy was doing a simulacrum in Minecraft of a subway station.
Mm-hmm.
But he had scaled it so that the individual blocks were like a centimeter on a side. This thing was absolutely enormous, but it was human sized.
Yeah.
So it took you like an hour to walk across the platform from one end to the other. But in so doing, he had a beautiful arched ceiling because the granularity was so small that he had a beautiful arch.
Yeah.
The problem is, if you've ever seen people build arches in Minecraft, you get the flats, and then you get the rounds, and it looks very nice from a Moorish architecture point of view with bricks, but it looks terrible in terms of a sphere. You just can't do it, and that's problem with the coarseness. There also was a competitor in Minecraft that actually offered you polygons. So you could do everything and design your own polygons and put everything together. It was wonderful, but it was so slow.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the angles were all different. One of the reasons Minecraft works is they only have to worry about 90 degrees ever for everything. So it's a really easy calculation in 3 axes. Anyway, I digress.
There's the element of programming too, which is really taken off. um, is to actually rewrite the software while you're playing the game.
Well, that's nice, and that is wonderful. Have they got like an API for Minecraft now, where you can actually get at the tools underneath?
There seems to be a rendition, many different versions which you can participate in online. So you join different environments. When you join a different environment, you can do different levels of programming. One of them was you can go in as a pig and you can experience everything as a pig. It's very funny because you're programmed as a pig, so you do piggish things.
Right.
And you don't have a choice in the matter.
Jeez, why does it immediately make me think of Animal Farm?
Yeah, but the fun of it is worth experiencing, I think, and we're missing out a few things here.
Right. Sure.
But that's what I think is fun about the level of programming that we don't really appreciate that the kids are doing now, and they're fast at it, really fast.
Well, and more power to them, because it's just becoming I wouldn't say it's like another language, because it's not. It's not like it. You have to learn English because it's universal language. You have to learn programming because it's a way to do. You know, it's nothing more than systems engineering. You have to design a cause and an effect, and decide about what the unwanted surprises are and how to work around them. I mean, I think programming is incredibly useful that way.
Well, the surprises are endless, right? So some of these characters that I watch on these games, as much as they're obnoxious and they do these things, they're actually incredible musicians.
Musicians?
Yeah, which is equally surprising. They'll get a little interruption and they'll do some video, I don't know, performance.
Right.
Which is nothing related with the game, just because they're bored.
Right.
And then they'll just play the most beautiful piece of music that live, you know, just because they can. And it's astounding.
I've got to send you a video of a guy on a Hammond organ who plays jazz, and he's never played this particular instrument before, but he's an accomplished musician, and he just rips off and starts to play.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 3 or 4 minutes long, but it's wonderful. He loves the instrument, and he just puts it together. You ever heard of the Jarrett improvisations jazz? And it's not Keith Jarrett, it's another Jarrett. And there's a 2-album set of him just improvising on a piano. He literally is making it up as he goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful. I love people who are so in tune with how they can make an instrument work, that they can just make music up in their brain about 2 seconds before they perform it.
Well, this is the spontaneity of this online Discord community, is they'll be singing while they're playing. It's so fun. You know, they use auto-tune on their voice to sing a song along with something else while they're playing. So you
can't really hear what they're saying all the time, but they're singing with this auto-tune, which is playing another tune.
So they just absolutely rip it apart as far as programming is concerned, and they just rewrite the environment with everything, even with their video feed. No, there's no video feed that I think is stably to one thing of seeing a person's face. It's just they keep changing it.
Right.
The other side of it that's fascinating is they don't stick to the norms at all. So one example would be that their choice of clothes has nothing to do with normalcy when they choose to take a moment off. They're virtually unrecognizable in public.
That's handy.
And the other thing is our misconception of how tall people are on screen.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids are like 6'2", and you can't see it from from their picture on their image, and you know, you see the from the above camera view, so they look
Right.
short. But then when you see them standing in public, you, oh my God, these are monsters.
I blame the food source.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
quality of food is just better and better and better. I was watching an interview with Matt Ridley, who's just written a book called The Rational Optimist, which I think is a wonderful term, about how people don't realize that the world isn't automatically going to hell in a handbasket. One of the things he talks about is the fact that one of the tremendous successes we've had is the elimination of hunger. You know, we have lots of food. It's not equitably distributed, or it's not equitably priced, but we now know how to do it. So the rest is just detail. It's just an element of rational optimism, which I thought was quite useful. It's not worth worrying about too hard. There's other stuff to worry about. My God, there's always stuff to worry about, but there's a limit.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're in a good spot. We just have to play much better.
Yeah.
As a community, the community is, you know, not as tight as it could be.
No, that's true. That's very true. They want us to, there seems to be a move afoot to pick up the recycling at the door rather than have us go and distribute it. And I'm in a mindset to do just the opposite. I don't mind putting some sweat equity into distributing recycling to the various depots. I know there's a lot of people for whom it's a pain in the ass. I see how poorly people do it, and I see how what an imposition is in somebody who doesn't have the vehicle or the time or the inclination to do it. I get that. So it's not the world's fairest thing. So we may well end up having door-to-door recycling where you just dump it en masse into a bin. If you sort it, it's a waste of time. But I still think there should be depots for those who want to take charge of their own stuff.
Oh, for sure. I
Break
think
it down.
no, there's always been human scavenging. That's a natural process.
Oh, for sure.
That's how things get redistributed. We're just not allowed to play this game anymore.
Yeah. Well.
And I think that's what community is when people realize that actually there isn't much harm in the process.
No, there really isn't. I mean, it's just organization rather than just randomly leaving it behind us, throwing it out the back of the ship as we sail along. We actually just make an attempt to actually use it and make use of it and put it somewhere, even if we burn it.
Yeah, I've done the stupidest things. I told them, you know, I made the tool to recycle the gas cans.
The gas cans? You mean like a jerry can?
The little the little natural gas, rather the propane tanks, the little ones.
The barbecue ones.
Yeah, the barbecue ones. They're easy to recycle, but everybody's scared of keeping it under pressure.
Oh.
So the you know, as long as it's been you know, most of the gas is out of there, then they can be recycled very easily.
How do you ensure that the integrity of the container, though? You charge it and watch it under pressure?
Oh, you mean recharging it?
Yeah.
I wasn't so much talking about recharging as the whole recycle aspect of having these camping canisters.
Sent off for purpose.
Yeah, there's several corners of the market that could be reestablished. One of them is to actually use the gas that's in the can, because when I go down there, there's at least 15 or 20 cans out of 100 that are still full, which is just insane.
Yeah.
And gas, as far as I'm concerned, has come out of the ground and it's been down there for 5,000 years. It's not going to change that much.
Yeah,
it's not going bad anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying in that regard. All that trouble to go get it, we may as well damn well use it.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's our resource. We bought it.
Yep.
So there's no reason why it couldn't be better facilitated.
Right.
And that can be an engineering project too. It's not hard to do. So the purge is what I obviously what I'd like to see happen.
Right.
But then there's the aspect of what do we do with all these tin cans?
Yeah. Well, what do we do with all of the fancy one-way stuff like the glass? I mean, you can't economically ship the glass back to the manufacturer, and you've got to segregate it by color. Because if you want clear glass, you've got to keep the clear glass ones together, and they get broken on the way. And you know, how much effort is there to sort it?
There's no effort. That's the problem. There's an effort to want to sort it, but there's an effort that says I don't have the time.
Right. Well,
Um,
that's why I mean about like don't stop the depot functionality. If people are willing to do the depot voluntarily as opposed to mandatorily now, you get a lot of moingerers in the depots because they're being forced to do it. If those who don't like to do it weren't forced to do it, then the people who did it would probably be more motivated. So you get a higher adherence and less contamination of the segregation and the sorting method.
well, I only have to do the math as anybody would do the math to what we're losing. And I just did on the back of the napkin calculation of how much we're actually losing in our community per year, and it's $4 million.
In the sense of what the resources are worth.
Absolutely, yes.
Which resources?
Well, the things I'm talking about, the metals and the gases and the
Oh, yeah.
and the possibility of the material to be reused.
Well, certainly something that drives me crazy is when they tear down a house. What about all the 2x4s?
I know, and not
Price
just
of
that,
wood.
not just that, but we know that the earlier buildings and the earlier wood is high quality.
Very high quality.
And it's better quality than we can get now. We just get warped, twisted bits of stuff that we just don't even know what we're looking at anymore.
That's right. That's absolutely true. But I wince when I see a container full of house bits disappear. I mean, the other thing is we got to be able to make cheaper houses. I was looking at a house we went through this morning. Jen and I, we looked through the houses in Warren, Minnesota. And the Warren of the plate. It's northern Minnesota. It's closer to Winnipeg than it is to any American city. You can buy a 1,500 square foot 1946 farmhouse in Warren for $75,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in nice shape. It's got air conditioning, it's got heating, it's had refurbished floors, it's got a nice bathroom, it's got relatively modern appliances, $75,000. Now, if you could take that house apart into pieces that would fit on railway flat cars, so you could take that house and you cut it up into 3 or 4 pieces, each piece fitting on a flat car, move it to Vancouver and reassemble it, and you'd have a house that's 1,500 square foot for $100,000. That's a quarter of the cost of what that costs. The house would cost today to be built new.
Well, they were doing that here, weren't they? They were barging up buildings to the coast.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, I was interested in one of those even at one point. I was like, yeah, for $15,000 you can move a house.
Oh yeah, I know a guy who moved one up. They were living at the airport in the little community at the airport at Vancouver YVR that got emptied out because he said, no, you can't live close to the airport because it's killing you. And they all looked at each other and said, what do you mean it's killing us? We like living here. We don't mind what noise. Anyway, they were all evicted. So a guy took his own house and he moved it to Seashell. He still lives there. He's 95 years old, so it hasn't killed him yet. Same thing. And my buddy Peter moved 3,500 square foot log home from Bainbridge Island to Narrows Inlet for the price of the barge. They literally had to get it off the lot finally, and he waited and waited and waited. And he says, "Well, what'll it cost to move it?" And that guy gave him the number. He says, "I'll pay you that." And they had to. They were stuck. Yeah. I mean, we have to solve that. We have to solve that. Your kids and my kids are not going to be able to afford houses.
I don't plan on going anywhere actually, so they'll just get it, no matter.
Oh, I know. Me too. No, absolutely. But then that's it. They get it. Now I got to move. You got multiple kids. I've got one kid.
I don't know what the future is.
Yeah.
So why would I make any radical decisions?
No, admittedly, I would like to see a lot of people who are very frustrated and work really hard and have less opportunity because we're approaching 10 billion on the planet to go, you know what? Maybe there's some better ways that we can do. Maybe we can make houses for 75,000 instead of 400,000. You know, change some of the rules so we don't have to have smoke detectors in every room or um, sprinkler systems, which just drives me nuts. And it's just another
You mean
moving
like
part.
it's like the Seashell Aquatic Center?
Oh my God, the aquatic center. Oh my God, what more can go wrong in there?
Chlorine, maybe?
Yeah, that'll be next. What was it? What was they showing all that sludge that was in something?
It
It was
wasn't sludge. It was calcified, and it was chlorination. So
oh,
chlorination rusts pipes from the inside.
right. Yeah. So it was just dissolving the iron pipe.
Yeah, and of course it's been left for 15 years or however long, probably no, 10 years, and
Yeah.
not been flushed out. Everybody said, oh, it hasn't been flushed out. So that's one of the corrosive properties of doing something. But also, you got to understand that building is warm, right? It's hot.
Yeah.
Hot and cold, hot and cold. And it's just like, yeah, that's a good workout for a sprinkler system.
Yeah. There's
Um,
that.
so, yeah, you know, a bit of science, please.
Yeah. Well,
But people were looking at it and they were saying, you know, it looked gross because it would look like a bacterial buildup of gunge or
yeah.
something, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's calcified. It's rock hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mineralized.
Um,
Salt.
yeah, salts and minerals and rust. And then of course the shell of the pipe is like only 2 millimeters thick or something.
There's that. Yeah. Yeah. So
Of course,
how many 100 meters of that do they have to replace? I guess all of it.
oh, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. Now they've opened the can of worms, for literally. um,
Remind me when we do the repair cafe at the Seashell Library, we have to go out and look at the sundial. You have
where's that located?
Oh, it's just out on the lawn outside of the Seashell Library.
Okay.
It doesn't actually work. It's not pointed in any useful direction. It's
What?
actually, yeah, it actually doesn't work. It's not even close to accurate.
How can you have a sundial and not point it to the sun?
Yeah, no kidding.
So
It's
who built that? I want to know.
oh, somebody back in the 90s, somebody said, hey, let me put in one of these and it'll only cost you this. And they said, sure, we'll have that.
Was he a cousin of Galileo or something?
Oh, not even. The Egyptians would have been more accurate.
Just tell him to get up in the morning.
Yeah, God. It's like sidereal time or something. It's just wrong. It's just so wrong.
Is it living by flashlight?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like solar energy. Great idea.
Maybe they have an app for deciding which way the sun is coming.
Well, geez, an app for everything else. You can get an app from Elon Musk to show you which way the satellites go by.
or an app to show you what's under your feet, maybe.
Well, sure. You know what? Yesterday I was looking at it because there's a real swarm of earthquakes in Iceland, and there was a huge swarm of earthquakes just off the north end of the New Zealand. And I follow that stuff because that's one of the things I look at.
What's the time frame you're talking about? Like in the last week or something?
No, the last 2 days.
Oh goodness. Okay.
There was an 8.1, 150 kilometers north of the North Island. And they got modest tsunami, 0.3 to 1 meters. So they got a big wave on the ocean, much bigger than the ones in behind you, but no damage. But there's been hundreds of aftershocks, all 5.0, 6.0. And there were some big earthquakes near Gisborne on the North Island. So they were all kind of shook up about that. But at the same time, there's 3 volcanoes in the southwest corner of Iceland that have been adversely affected. There's magma moving underneath, and it's right on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge Rift. The exit point off of Iceland is right there. So that people got webcams up and they're all spooked because it's not 40 miles from Reykjavik, the capital. So one of these hasn't erupted in 12,000 years, which is fairly substantial. Anyway, I thought because you can. There's 2 apps I found so far. You specify a point on the Earth, and it'll show you what the others. If you burrowed straight down, where you'd come out the other side. Super handy. But 2 separate individuals have figured out how to do that and put it up as a free app.
Nice. Well, there was a discussion last week, I think, so it might have spurred it on. They're playing all these geotagging games now. Geofinder.
Like geocaching?
Well, they use the maps system with visual.
Yeah.
And they play this game where they drop a person within a location, and they have to figure out where they are within a certain amount of time. It's a beautiful game because
it's a virtual game.
It's a virtual game, but it's just you have to describe your surroundings to yourself and say what's there. It's a detective series, right? Where the hell am I on this map? And some of these kids can get it down in a matter of minutes.
Nice.
And they go. All they do is they go. That tree in the background, that's a such and such and such, and it's only on this plane of the the equator, and so that's going to be there. And then they'll look at the bark and they'll look at the waves, and they say, well, that's this, and they just don't move. They just do all these little things, and they go, yeah, that's got to be that location. And they're only out by about a mile.
It's not bad.
It's fantastic. It's like just this brain of detective series.
After the 2016 American election, there was some very vocal opposition to who got elected. And this guy said, well, I'm putting up this flag of resistance on this flagpole and you'll never get it. He says, this flag will fly until Trump is out of office. So he put a webcam on it. Well, they were off like a rocket. They noticed there were jet contrails behind it. And they figured out the time of year and all this. And pretty soon they went on to Flight 24, Flight Aware 24, and they figured out where the jet contrails were. They figured out the angles. Within a day, somebody had driven up and torn the flag down. It was the same thing. It was just Joe. Well, this can't be that hard to figure out. He's left us enough clues.
Yeah. Well, and it's not hard to find out where people live either.
No, it's not. There's no secrets.
But we're ultimately very sensitive to these details, but we don't realize how much it's available.
I was ordering something online, and I think it was through PayPal, and it wouldn't accept the order. I said, what do you mean you won't accept the order? He says, well, your shipment is to a different country. It's to a different country.
Yeah.
So I dug further, and it turned out that the sold to address was mine, but the ship to was an address in Arkansas. Somebody had gone and hacked my PayPal account and just changed where to send shipments to. It's pretty clever when you think about it. So I looked it up. I went to Google Maps and I searched for the address and the ship to, and it was this shanty house in rural Arkansas. It was at the end of a long dirt road. I'm sure the FedEx guy, I don't know what you done, but here's your bottle of maple syrup. What an interesting thing to do is to pull off this simple hack is just go sold to ship to. It's just go in there and, we don't tell them. We just move this. And every now and then there's a guy who lives up in the Gaspé in Quebec, which is that peninsula above Quebec City.
And he's got lots of maple syrup.
No, he buys stuff, and I get the delivery notices. I said, oh, your order is shipped. And I look at it. Oh, really? What did I order this time? And he's always buying like plumbing parts. And I noticed it because somehow his email address and my email address have been transposed in some online database somewhere. He doesn't buy much online, but every year or so I start getting these notices until the shipment is made. Heaven help him if there's a problem with shipping, because he'll never, ever know. He won't have any proof. And I don't know how to undo it either. So, well, and these are all new situations. These are not, if you were a fan of detective fiction or mystery books for the last 60 years, none of these things, none of these modus operandi were valid. There's all new crimes. There's all new situations nobody anticipated. I mean, imagine you'd invested in commercial real estate in downtown Vancouver. Like he'd bought a floor in the Bentall Tower, hoping to make a fortune renting it to some corporation. And now most corporations are not going to bother have people go off to offices anymore.
I don't think they can even pay the light bill, right?
Yeah, well, there's that. But I mean, so many things like that have changed. And I think a lot of them have changed forever. And I don't think any of us anticipated that when this all started a year ago for, what was it, for 2 weeks? Oh yeah, we're just going to take 2 weeks out to see how things go. Famous last words. The fancy restaurant that opened, unfortunately, right in the middle of all of this. I really feel for people who put money out on stuff that just requires public input or presence.
Yeah, yeah, it's not hard to notice if you live here.
No, it really isn't. It really isn't. I mean, Amazon's done well. And
It's the whole aspect of it is fascinating because we live in a very a very prestigious part of the world,
we do.
and some very extremely wealthy people
Oh,
live
yeah.
here, and yet our infrastructure is looking pretty shabby.
Yeah. 3 families have moved onto our street in the last year, all refugees from town, and all thrilled to be here. Just thrilled. And that's what's keeping demand up. There's now, I think, only 2 houses for sale in Roberts Creek.
Yeah, getting out of the big smoke, as they say.
Yeah. And they're getting it with a profit because the stuff's even more ludicrously overpriced there.
Yeah, there's always been a third difference, hasn't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind of my surprise when I came here. I was like, what? I live so far away from the city. I can do so much in the city. And then, oh, you mean I can have a big house instead of a tiny little house?
Yeah. I don't have to fight my way through traffic because I'm only 10 minutes away from everything I need.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a treat, eh?
People drop this stuff off at my door now.
Yeah.
They don't come in because of the dog, which is useful.
So every day has its dog because every dog has its day. So every day has its dog. And then he must have been one day the dog du jour.
Yeah. So what happened with these is that
Dark matter.
somebody plugged them in wrong. Blame the kids, right?
Yeah. The thing went zot.
Apparently they plugged it into the wrong power supply. Or actually, now I know what it is. They said my kids messed it up. You know what happened, right? Probably they put not only the wrong power supply, but or maybe it was.
Well, at least, is it center positive? What's the voltage on the jack there?
This is 900 milliamp.
And center positive?
No.
Ah,
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
probably.
Yeah, usually is. Oh, we'll take a little look. Take a little looky here.
Yeah.
See what's cooked.
Give it a sniff as soon as you get the back off. Sniff it.
Yeah. Very nice machine.
Yeah. Yeah, they're beautifully made.
Yeah. No, don't smell anything.
Maybe there's a reset on it somewhere. Are those dip switches on the corner? In the top there on the left? Yeah, what's in there?
Yeah, little alternative switches. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's got a lot of stuff in here. Oh, and look, it's got a battery that's seen
Yeah,
better
a
days.
bit juicy. Yeah.
That's the original battery. I mean, you don't see batteries like this.
No, that's quite old.
See, these are the batteries I want to be able to buy. We can't buy these batteries.
No.
They're just not consumer available.
There'd be a date on that somewhere, a date code
Yeah,
506 for May 06 or something. There'd be a date somewhere.
yeah, I don't see it.
Could be on the base. Oh, there you go.
March
March
21.
20. Oh, so it's right up to date. 2021.
Look at it, it's blistering out here,
Yeah, I know. I can see that.
popping out. So anyway, yeah, we got some screwdrivers here. I even got the right screwdriver in the screwdriver already. Ready to go, I think. Maybe not.
They're not reverse threaded, are they? They would-
No, nothing fancy like that. Just got to find the right screwdriver. No, that's not the right one either. Tricking me. There we go. That'll work. Yeah, this must be like $100 unit at least.
I was going to say, it's got the big 3/4 jack or whatever. it
Yeah,
is.
so there's some of these are kind of spendy units.
Yeah.
So have your children playing with these things is a little high risk.
Yeah. This is Mark.
Unless it's all mounted on. No, actually, it is mounted in the box. Yeah. I don't like doing these things because they're so expensive, right?
Yeah. Well, you
And
look
this-
for the obvious anyway.
It's just heartbreaking. You know, when you.
Oh
at
my
that.
God.
You know, OMG.
Yeah. And you have to undo the the nuts on the four jacks to get the rest of it out. To get
Yeah, it'll pop out. What can we see in here?
hell of a lot of inspection symbols. Wow.
I can't see anything too obvious.
No.
It's not a great board. It's fairly nice, but it's not perfect. It's not a high quality as I thought it would be. But that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
The first rendition is always the nicest, and then it sort of seems to go downhill from there.
Well, if they're both dead, they must have the same thing must have done them in.
Same power supply. Got all the wrong tools here.
Yeah. The right tool is the tool that gets the job done.
Well, yeah. Learn by how many cuts I get on my fingers.
Yeah.
Knuckles. Call me Knuckles.
You
Are
have to
these
undo
screwed
the
in?
knobs. Lift them off.
Yeah, the knobs will pop off, I think.
Or not.
Okay, hold on. What's this one called anyway? Hall of Fame.
The other one is dark matter. take those nuts off.
Yeah, let's go in. More little tricks. Sure is nicely made though. It's like a solid piece of kit. What do I have here? This one? There you go. A thousand more nuts.
Yeah.
Not as bad as that PS4 I did the other day.
Oh yeah, that thing.
I put the video of what I did later. My God, that was a journey if ever I had one.
Yeah.
But I was warned.
Yeah, well, it's a real rabbit hole. You know, they're not expecting anybody to successfully spelunk into their cave.
What I like is that people put these things on YouTube and they just go the whole hog, right?
Yeah. No, agreed. Having the online search and destroy tool is beyond invaluable.
Well, I always forget. I always go, oh yeah, I guess I should just look it up. Seems to be always someone doing something.
Yep.
It's to the point now where we should totally rewire our LED lights and all that kind of stuff, right?
Jeez. There's not a lot of user serviceable parts. I wonder if you replace that battery, if the thing would burp into life.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to see if there was anything obvious.
Yeah, no, agreed. You're on the right track. I would have done the same thing.
But yeah, this is pretty intense.
Yeah, quite impressed.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, look at the VLSI chips. There's two huge
I know.
VLSI.
I know, it's insane.
Yeah.
This is like full on. This is no longer a breadboard technology.
No, it isn't. And what you're getting to now is the point is you're not buying a board. You're buying a system. And there's more software in this thing than there is hardware.
And to think this is under your foot and you're going to stomp on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's how many guys it took to design that. It's got to be like a dozen guys for a year to come up with that.
Oh, it's a team.
Yeah.
Definitely a team thing. It's just insane amount of work.
Yeah. That's where it's going. This is why I want to just, if for no other reason to satisfy myself, I can be coherent about it. I want to put on a programming course at the Seashell Library to show anybody what programming really is and what aspects of your existing life are represented by programming and why they're exactly the same thing. Everything from poetry to getting your coffee maker or your Instapot to do what you want it to do. It's a process. Cooking is programming.
Entirely. Well, so the psychology is the same thing.
Yes.
How do we program ourselves? And why stop studying objects, so you can study ourselves too.
Yep.
The whole psychology in the brain, how we store information.
That's another video I need to send you. Very interesting guy interviewing a very interesting clinical psychologist, and she's damn smart.
Yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of that. It's you know, we've been sent to our rooms, so I don't mind.
Yeah, that's right. We've got all the time in the world.
It's actually the best place for me to be sent to my room.
I keep watching interviews with Elon Musk because he looks at stuff so interestingly. He says he'd rather build prototypes than build production. He says it's a lot harder to put something into production than it is to prototype it. He says production is hard. He says you've got to churn out stuff again and again and again that's the same. And he was talking about Teslas. He said, we have 300 robots in a factory. And the guy said, well, how many lines of code do you have? And he said, oh, we have 300,000 lines of code. And the guy says, oh, that must be really good. He says, it's awful. He says, you don't need 300 lines of code. What you need is less code. You need less code and better code. You don't need more code. More code is more problems. And he said, less parts is better. He said, we assemble 300 parts together to make the front end of a Tesla Model S. He said, what we really need to do and what we are going to do is we're going to make a casting. We're going to cast the front end of the car in a single piece because that piece will be accurate every time we cast one. And we don't have to spend an endless amount of time trying to figure out how to get everything to go together. And he said, that's what's hard about building production cars is being consistent. And the people who are good are consistent, but he said it's awfully hard to do it. So stuff like that. I mean, it's a revelation because he's right. Like I can see why he's right to do that. Yeah, that's a casting. That's a beautiful casting. You can see the release pins. See the mold release pins along the bottom of that zinc casting?
Yeah, it's very clean.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Metal casting is wonderful. Look at the heavy enamel on that.
Yeah, well, it's made to be kicked around on the floor.
Yeah.
But
would that be on the floor? Oh yeah, that one big button.
Well, because of the stomp switch here,
Yeah,
that's right here.
Yeah.
You're
right.
But it's not mounted as if it should be on the floor. There's no rubber mountings.
No feet.
There's no feet on the device itself. There's no feet on this one. Oh, I guess there's some little nodules, but
yeah,
nothing really substantial.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very heavy box.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it can't be shocked. And then, yeah, well, let's hope that there's some kind of release sensitivity in this power supply that would detect an ill current.
Yeah, you'd think the power supply would hold back the bad stuff because it's going to be DC in, so the
yeah, it might have a switching relay in there that decided that it wouldn't come back on until it's had enough.
Well, there's going to be multiple voltages in there. There's going to be 5 volts for the TTL logic. There'd probably be 12 or 24 volts for the signals in loop that are going out the big jacks. So there's going to be multiple levels going on. So one of those big chips up near that input jack is going to be nothing more than a DC power supply generator. That's what the capacitors are for in the upper right-hand corner. After that, everything is digital. I mean, there are capacitors throughout it, but they're tiny little surface mounts.
But you know, a lot of these circuits can withstand 90 volts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not the volts that kill you, it's the amperage.
Yeah, so just because you plug in the wrong power supply with the wrong terminals doesn't give you an excuse to blow up the board.
I would think that there's very little amplification with that. Only digital processing, DSP. You get an input, you get the modifications from the pots, all the knobs, the potentiometers are giving you mods to the programming. That's all they're doing. I see a bunch of silicon or something near your left third finger where that ribbon cable drops.
Yeah, it's just a goop to hold it so it doesn't get fractured.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of circuitry that I'm talking about. Is like this is on the floor. It needs more of that goop.
Yeah. Well, it could be potted. The whole thing could be an epoxy.
Yeah, I think they probably do that with some versions, but it's just vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
But then, it's a production item too, so there's the limit on what they can achieve.
Did they ship the power supply with it? The owner?
Hmm. No.
You don't have a PS that is necessarily relevant.
Well, I'll just use my own power supply. That's fine.
Okay, as long as you got one that's
Well, I got the you know the electronic variable DC power supply PS305D,
oh yeah, well there you go. That's true.
and I can use that because it's got coarse and fine, and I can measure it.
I would not be shocked if the kids had grabbed another wall wart and plugged it in, not realizing that it made a difference.
But that's what I'm saying. It should be able to absorb 90 volts in either direction.
Yeah, but not necessarily there.
They used to call these things with these circuits. They used to put a fuse in, right?
Yep.
And even a resistor was a fuse.
Oh, they could do it with a transistor.
Yeah. So they used to build the circuit so that it would have this possibility that if you destroyed it with the wrong power supply, that you could repair it.
Yeah, or that you wouldn't let it destroy itself. It would actually bug out before it let it through.
Yeah.
You do it in logic.
Those were design functions and utility
Yep.
for longevity, right? So I'd be surprised if there wasn't something of that nature in this circuit.
I agree.
Because I've done stuff myself, right? And it's just like, maybe I cooked it and then I realized I didn't cook it. It was only the wires.
Yep.
Because the circuit had a fail-safe mechanism in it.
I accept that. I think that you're 100% right. I like how the bare rings around the circuit board mount into the case are all clean so that they can use that as a local ground.
Yeah, and these are actually gold.
Wow.
So they went for quality.
Yep. No, I think it's well built.
A lot of this is gold on here. You can't really see it on the camera.
Right.
I guess you can sort of. My light on this camera is not so good. Anyway, I will plug it in and play. I don't have any way of plugging it in right now. That's in my other detailed desk. My other workshop.
Yeah, well, every space I stop in long enough turns into a workspace. I've got 2 out here and I've got 2 more in the house.
Well, the whole idea was in the maker fairs, I wanted to build labs, but I just wasn't allowed to.
Oh man. Oh, they got rid of those temporary buildings behind the Roberts Creek School. They tore them out and disappeared them to town.
I know, and they did the same thing at Langdale School too.
Really?
It's a crime.
Yeah.
It's a crime because it's still property and it's still buildings and it's still usable.
Yep.
But they seem to have a hate thing going on. I don't know what it is.
Well, part of it was they didn't lay anybody off at the school board, so they needed something to do.
I think it's also to do with numbers again. It's like they played this numbers game as if there's nothing in the building and there's no class in the building, then they can't justify having the building there.
Right.
And so then if they do have the building there, they have to justify it with filling it up.
Agreed. Agreed. I understand that.
And if we took that theory and did it with everything, we'd be in deep trouble.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, yeah. Look, we still got oil on the ground. Quick, get it out. What do we do with it? Oh, just pour it on that lake. That'll keep the waves down. Yeah.
Or if, hello, that's an unused space. Who's going to use it?
Yeah.
It just goes on forever.
Or these pesky parks that we have to keep mowing. Let's just have people live in tents in them.
Yeah. Yep. No, we're becoming less and less efficient with what we're supposed to be efficient with.
No kidding.
And the school system is not really clued in too good either.
Nope. No, they've lost the thread too. I agree.
So that's why I'm so happy my son is studying psychology.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
He said he didn't want to have 2 dads. He said he can't go to school and find a dad and come home and have a dad. He said this is too much dad going on.
Oh yeah, too much dad. Got to tone down the dad.
Yeah. So what he was talking about was philosophy.
Right.
And so he's studying philosophy, but I said, well, I hope that includes psychology, but of course it does.
No.
It's just that, you know, it could change the whole school if they really wanted to apply it in the correct manner.
Yeah.
Because there isn't really a degree in psychology. It's not available. If there was a degree in psychology, our world would be a lot different.